सुप्रभात. सर्वांना नमस्कार. राजभाषा संचालनालय आणि राष्ट्रीय अनुवाद मिशन, भारतीय भाषा संस्थान मैसूर यांच्या संयुक्त विद्यमाने आयोजित करण्यात आलेल्या अनुवाद कौशल्य या विषयावरील व्याख्यानमालेत आपणा सर्वांचं मनपूर्वक स्वागत. अनुवाद ही संकल्पना फार व्यापक आहे, तिचा आवाका फार मोठा आहे. या व्याख्यानमालेच्या माध्यमातून अनुवाद संकल्पनेचे आपण शक्य तितके आकलन करून घेण्याचा प्रयत्न करत आहोत. याआधी झालेल्या व्याख्यानांमधून अनुवाद या संकल्पनेच्या अनेकविध पैलूंवर विविध मार्गदर्शकांनी प्रकाश टाकला आहे आणि आम्हाला खात्री आहे की यातून मिळालेल्या ज्ञानाचा उपयोग आपले अनुवाद कौशल्य सुधारण्यासाठी आपणा सर्वांना नक्कीच होईल. आजचे या व्याख्यानमालेचे हे 5वे पुष्प आहे. आजच्या व्याख्यान सत्राला सुरुवात करताना मी राजभाषा संचालनालयाचे संचालक श्री प्रसन्न आचार्य यांना विनंती करते की त्यांनी प्रास्ताविक करावे.
नमस्कार, तुमका सगळ्यांक येवकार. The Directorate of Official Language is established for development and implementation of official language in the state of Goa. The core competency of the department includes imparting training of basic knowledge of Konkani language, so also assisting various departments of state and central government in translation of various documents including acts, rules, schemes, citizens charters, etc. The department has also taken the initiative of coining of scientific and technical terms in Konkani language in collaboration with Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, New Delhi. Some of these are already published and others are at final printing stage. The department publishes research-oriented books. This department has also taken lectures on basic Konkani language and language orthography. This department is in the process of preparing a basic learner's course in Konkani language and printing it in book form. Since translation work has tremendous potential in the era of social networking and artificial intelligence, it was felt necessary to collaborate with National Translation Mission, Central Institute of Indian Languages, Mysuru, and conduct lecture series as a part of promotion of translation culture and emerging translation industry among the budding translators as well as amateur and professional translators. The lecture series aims to create awareness about translation, develop skills of translation, above all, improve quality of the translation by facilitating the translators to find key to the minds of the author of the material which is translated, retaining the soul of the original work in the body of the translation undertaken by the translators. I am optimistic that this lecture series will benefit the budding translators and will be a turning point in creation of the translation industry. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर. आजच्या सत्रासाठी आपल्याला मार्गदर्शक म्हणून लाभल्या आहेत राष्ट्रीय अनुवाद मिशनच्या डॉक्टर सुनेत्रा शोलापूरकर. राजभाषा संचालनालयाच्या कनिष्ठ भाषांतरकार सुवर्णा नाईक यांना विनंती आहे की त्यांनी आजच्या मार्गदर्शकांची आम्हाला ओळख करून द्यावी.
समस्तांक नमस्कार. डॉक्टर सुनेत्रा शोलापूरकर हांणी CIILच्या मराठी, हिंदी, इंग्लिश ट्रायलिंग्वल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिक्शनरी प्रकल्पाचे तसेच हिंदी कॉर्पोरल प्रकल्पाचे काम सांभाळ्ळा. तसेच विंडोज विस्ता सॉफ्टवेअर आणि 2007 मायक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑफिस सिस्टम हांचे लोकलायझेशनाचे काम तिणें केला. डॉक्टर सुनेत्रा 2008 वर्सा सावन राष्ट्रीय अनुवाद मिशनात कार्यरत आसात. शिक्षणीक तसेच हेर साहित्य चणकार आणि प्रुफां तपासपाचे काम तांणी केला. 2011 वर्सा प्रकाशित जाल्ल्या लॉंगमॅन बेसिक इंग्लिश हिंदी शब्दकोशाची ती सहाय्यक संपादक आसा. देशभरांतल्या वेगवेगळ्या विद्यापीठांनी जाल्ल्या परिशदांनी आणि सेमिनारांनी तिने पेपर सादर केले. तसेच ट्रान्सलेशन अँड नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन द सोशियो कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट इन ट्रान्सलेशन ह्या विशयाचेर डॉक्टर सुनेत्रा शोलापूरकर हांणी प्रशिक्षण दिला. आज ती आमकां इंटरसेमियोटिक ट्रान्सलेशन ह्या विशयाचेर लेक्चर दितली.
धन्यवाद मॅडम. आजच्या आपल्या व्याख्यानाचा विषय आहे इंटरसेमियोटिक्स ट्रान्सलेशन. साधारण या व्याख्यानाचा कालावधी तास ते 1.5 तास असेल आणि त्यानंतर कुणाचे काही प्रश्न असल्यास आपण ते घेऊ. Sunetra madam has already joined with us. A very good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Good
We
morning.
we warmly welcome you to this session, and I request you to kindly take over the session, and we may start with the lecture.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. It's my honor to be a part of this translation lecture series. I would like to thank the Director of Languages from the bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity. तशा तर सगळ्या भाषा गोड वाटतात. मराठी माझी मातृभाषा आहे. ती माझ्या फार मनाजवळची भाषा आहे. पण कोकणी ही तिची बहीण समजली जाते. तर ती पण माझी फार आवडती भाषा आहे आणि म्हणू शकतो की आपण माझी ती फार लाडकी आहे. So it was nice hearing the introduction in Konkani. Thank you, ma'am, for introducing me in Konkani. Today's lecture is the 5th lecture in series. So by now, I'm sure you must have got a fair idea about what is translation. Translation. In my lecture, there is one more word, intersemiotic, which we will be dealing afterwards. Translation, as you know, is the formal transference of message from one code to another, and it involves the linguistic, the thematic, and the formal and semiotic transference. But there's one more feature which is not much spoken about in translation, and that is communication. What do we do in communication? In communication also, we share our thoughts, ideas, information, our feelings, emotions, etc. In translation also, we do the same. And both need a medium, that is a verbal medium. Which is, why do we use this medium? Because it is comparatively easy to understand, is it not? But what if we are not able to communicate with speech, which is the medium in which we converse in our daily discourse? That is called the verbal communication. Speech, we are gifted with speech, and that's why we have a sense of superiority that we can speak, which other species are not able to do so. I would like to say, speech is not the only thing with which we communicate, there are non-verbal elements also through which we do communication. They are the sign language. In sign language, what happens is the words, the numbers, etc. get supplemented by gestures. On national events like 26th January or 15th August, when they are live telecasted, you might have seen on your screen on the right side at the corner, the anchor will be telling about the whole event in a sign language. Then there's action language, which involves sleeping, walking, jumping, eating. It means each action has some meaning. If someone is sleeping, we understand that he is taking rest. We should not disturb him. Then comes the object language. This is something which I think we never think of. art objects, the monuments, the architectural monuments, then sculptures, etc., even the paintings, the visual art, they all communicate. We never think about this, but they do communicate. But is it that man from the very starting, using speech to communicate? If we look at the prehistoric times, man, when he did not communicate through speech, how did he communicate? He communicated through grunt, making various noise. Then slowly through body language. And then as he progressed, he started communicating through signals like smoke and fire. Slowly what he started doing is he started observing nature. He got inspiration from nature and the chirping of birds, their actions, he started imitating them. And that's how slowly he started singing and dancing. After that, as he advanced, his intelligence advanced, he started drawing paintings in the caves in which he lived. So we can say that there have been 5 revolutions in communication. First is the cave painting. In cave painting, what happened? In cave painting, what happened was, he started hunting, and the animal which he hunted, he came and started drawing the animal in his caves. The picture which is seen here of a deer is approximately 64,000-year-old cave painting of Spain. And the next one is a very sophisticated cave painting, and it is almost 15,000-year-old painting in France, Lescox. After he started paintings in the caves, those were called cave paintings. Slowly, what he started doing was he started drawing the pictures of the animals, birds, or whatever objects were around him. And that is how hieroglyphic writings came into being. That marked the beginning of written language. And it was not mobile. The characters, the pictures were used as characters. Below you can see the journey of alphabets, how initially an alphabet was and its journey, now how A or B is written. Then came the press. Once the writing language was introduced, came the press. We don't know when exactly the first press came and who invented, because the Chinese book Diamond Sutra is supposed to be the oldest printed textbook, and that is in 1868 AD. So you can imagine how old it is. But as per records, the commercial press came in 1450 and it was made by Johannes Gutenberg. With the help of this printing press, mass production of uniform printed materials of books, pamphlets, and newspaper came in being. Ideas started being shared very quickly and very efficiently, and that too in large numbers. After this came, with the invention of printing press, after this came the modern age, that is the 20th century. With the print media, with the advent of print media, advertisements came. Advertisements became very popular because it had a text as well as the image. It reached out to people, and people could understand what it was about the product, and it became very famous. After the print media and the advertisements came the computer aided communications. Here also advertisements came. The communication and the computer aided communication brought the world closer. Messages could be sent within minutes and seconds. It brought not only efficiency but transparency also. Then came the digital world where mobile phones came, not the present smartphones, but initially the phones which just had which in which you could just message the text. Texting was so easy and it became so popular that 75% of the people started using texting. But there was one drawback in this. You see, when you talk to somebody face to face, there is an emotional communication. You see the expressions, you see the gestures, as I said in non-verbal communication, or someone earlier had told that a very small portion of speech is used when you communicate. The rest is used by non-verbal elements. So in texting, your emotions and feelings started negating. And it became a very just a informative sort of communication. But over a period of time, as our people became still smarter, they realized, and they filled this gap with the era of with emojis. So this time in which we are living, you can call it an era of emojis. Now, what are emojis? I'm sure you all have smartphones and you all use these emojis. What are these emojis? Emojis are facial expressions. They represent characters, they represent feelings, they represent emotions as well. So instead of writing, I am laughing or I am happy, you can just use an emoji. Is it not? There are not only faces and smileys of people, but there are many representations of animal and nature, food and drink, activity, travel and places, objects, symbols and flag in your mobiles, which I'm sure we all often use them. Now, where did this word emoji get its meaning from? It came from Japanese. In Japanese, EX stands for picture and moji stands for character. It is more often misunderstood that it has come from emotion. No, it is not that. Now, emojis have started playing a major role in communicating our thoughts, our ideas, and feelings as well. They have filled the facial expression. What happens is when you send an emoji and when one looks at the emoji, our brain gets activated and you feel as if you're seeing the real human face. And in as an what you call it, in answer to that, you just smile, or if it changes your mood in a way. If the emoji is of anger, you feel upset. If an emoji is of a happy face, you feel happy. If someone sends you a heart, you know that the person loves you. So these are the emojis which have become very popular today. And we can say that emojis to an extent are doing emotional communication. I hope you agree with this. Now, this part till now, I have told you about communication, how many types of communication are there, the history of communication, and now we'll come back to translation. In the first lecture of this series, it was mentioned about Jacobson's model of translation, that translation is of three types. Intralingual translation, where the message is transferred in the same language. That means in the same linguistic medium. For example, if I need to write a book on Ramayana for children, the style of writing, the terms I use will be different. The jargons will be different. The register will be different. That means the language will be different. It will suit to that particular age group. Interlingual translation deals with two languages where a text is translated from one language to another. For example, from Konkani to Marathi, from English to Bengali, or from Bengali to Hindi, or English to Hindi, any between two languages. Now, the third is intersemiotic translation, where in the above two translations, the medium was verbal, but in this, the transference of the message is from verbal to non-verbal. That means the medium changes, or it is vice versa also. Here, what happens is, from a verbal text to a non-verbal text when it gets translated, the medium changes. It takes a form of an art. And today's lecture, I will be concentrating on arts, the visual arts. Now, let us see few examples of intersemiotic translation, where literature is made into cinema, theater, comics, music, dancing, etc., or into graphic format. Here are the few examples where print media has been transferred to celluloid media. For example, novel is made into a movie. A novel, you might have heard of R.K. Narayan's book, The Guide. It was made into a movie. There are various instances of this, various examples. I've given you some few of them, like Sharat Chatterjee's Devdas. It was a novel which was made into a movie. Then Chetan Bhagat's very recently, The Two States. It was again made into a movie. And in English, O. Henry's was made into a raincoat by Ritu Sen. Now, there are dramas also, based on which movies were made, like Vishal Bharadwaj Omkara was based on Shakespeare's Othello, and Hamlet was made as Heather. Short stories can be made into teleserials, were made in India. I'm giving you Indian examples so that we are familiar to them and you will be able to understand. Short stories, teleserial on Doordarshan, Darpan came. In Darpan, what they did was they collected few short stories and then they were made into the Darpan was the name of the serial, and each episode contained a story which was based on the written story. The same was Ek Kahani, very beautiful. Ek Kahani was based on international authors. Darpan was about Indian authors, was based on Indian authors. Now, the books on which teleserials were made were R.K. Narayal's Malgudi Days, very famous. Rudyard Kipling, Jungle Book, again one of our favorites. Then Jawaharlal Nehru's Discovery of India was made as Bharat Ek Khoj, a very popular serial. Then religious beliefs are painted, like Madhubani art, Tanjavur paintings, Pattachitra, then even Saursa paintings, covered art, all these have religious content in them. The myths have been made, the epics and Puranas have been made, serials have been based on these epics and Puranas, like Ramayana and Mahabharata, recently Shiv Puran, etc. And you like people have the dancers, they take the text from epics and Purans. Even dances like Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, Yakshigan, Kuchipudi, they all are based on epics and Purans or religious text. Even the bhajans of Mirabai, you can dance on them. People do ballet. The kirtans, which are the spiritual teachings, they also. And lastly, the visual arts. Visual arts, on which I will be concentrating, contains visual arts, contain paintings, sculptures, architectures, photographs, etc. They may be tribal, abstract, conventional, representational, etc. So, how does this translation happen in visual art? In in intralingual or in inter translation, interlingual translation, we use the linguistic sign and and it gets transferred. The simple transference happens. You know both. But in aesthetic text, that means when you convert a text into intersemiotic, when it takes another form, as I gave you examples, when a text is made into a painting, what happens? The medium changes. The linguistic medium changes to artistic medium. Is it not? In this, in normal translation or the natural translation, the message is clear. Here, the visuals become more prominent. The words are like they are more prominent, they become more prominent than words. It's not that words lose their importance, but the visuals become more important. Now, the third point, the difference between, or the similarity we can say, in natural language, we have the original text, the writer, you can say, then the text, and the target reader, the target text or the target reader. In the aesthetic text, what happens is the original is there, that is the artist. The text is there, which becomes where the medium has changed, and the target reader or the uh, target text becomes the audience. Here, what happens is the artist, that is the creator, a lot depends upon his upbringing, his biography, and his socio-economic environment and conditions. The way where he has been born and brought up, his social conditions. That is why we have so many art forms in every region. That particular art form is, you will find that art form in that particular region. Now, what happens is in natural language or in the normal translation, you know that this is getting translated into this language. But in this, what happens is it gets translated into a different medium, but it takes a very specific expression of code which is very different. A written text, as we saw in the examples, may take a form of a drama or a movie or a serial or a painting or a comic or an advertisement, etc. Now, what happens here is when and what becomes the text here? The art itself becomes the text. Any piece of art, any piece, we are concentrating on visual arts, so that art becomes the text. And when the audience sees this art, each one interprets it in a different manner, depending upon the depending upon his understanding of art. We say most of us, we are not able to understand contemporary art or abstract art because our sensitivity level is not that matches to the creator. But if you are able to understand, then it means the communication has been successful. Whatever the artist has intended to create or to showcase or, or to communicate, he has been successful. In normal translation, the expression is usually achieved. For example, if somebody is writing about an essay on Taj Mahal, we all understand what is it written. But when actually one goes and sees Taj Mahal or anything, each one perceives it in a different manner. For me, it might be the architecture, if I have an architectural background. Someone who likes white color may appreciate the stone or the white color. Someone who is nature nature lover may find it very attractive as it is situated beside a river. So for each one, the understanding is different and the level is also different. So there are multiple manipulations and interpretations. Each one has a different interpretation of the same object. Plane of content, as far as plane of content is concerned, in natural language or in natural translation, what happens is languages, you know both the languages and you are able to understand. And there is a limited scope that from this language you have to translate it to this language. But in intersemiotic translation, what happens is a text, the translatability remains open. What I mean to say is a text can be translated into any art form. It depends upon the creator whether he wants which art form he wants to translate. Now we'll come to language and text. In proper translation, we have a text and a language. The same, as I told you earlier, happens in the aesthetic text also, in the art form, which is in the art form. The art itself becomes the text. The various arts, we have arts ranging from prehistoric times to the very contemporary ones. They all may seem to differ. They appear to differ, but they all have a similar structure that I will tell you later on. The principles will be same, but the subject differs. What happens here is in art, we use different motives. I'm talking about visual arts, the different motives the sign, the symbols, etc., which we use to communicate. These signs are known as signifiers, or the particular symbol that is called a signifier, and the meaning which it intends is called the signified. Whereas in natural language translation, you are familiar with the word and the word is same. You know that. You know the meaning of that particular word in both the languages. But here, in every art of form, it will differ. Now, in natural translation, what happens is ordinary communication happens where you report about an incident, or you report and you tell an information, you share an information or something. But in art communication, in intersemiotic communication, aesthetic communication happens. That is, it depends upon the beauty of the art form. If the art form is beautiful in your eyes as you perceive, there the aesthetic communication will happen. Now, since we are talking about visual arts, it should have a language. What does visual language mean? It is believed that, like we whatever we think, we can verbalize. In the same way, whatever we can visualize also. Then here the problem arises as it is very difficult to express your feelings and your emotions in an art. And if the audience or the person who is seeing the art captures that, the communication has been successful. But if he fails, then the art itself fails, or the creator or the art, I won't say it fails, but it has failed to reach to the audience. The art itself has not failed, but it has failed to reach to the audience because of his level of understanding. All the art forms, they emerge through art and design theory. Like in normal course, how is a text formed? You use words. For words, you need alphabets. Alphabets, when you join, they become words, then they make up sentences, and sentences make a paragraph. Is it not? In the same way, in visual arts or any art, design theory is very important. And any art form and content is very important. Form means the elements of art, the principles of design, the actual physical materials that the artist has used. Now let us talk about the elements of art. There are 7 formal elements of art, mainly space, line, form, shape, light, color, and texture. And these are they form the universal language. These ingredients form the universal language. Then the next form are with design, and with these above mentioned forms, various designs, color combinations, motifs and patterns, signs and symbols are formed. They come into existence and thus form the basic language of any art. And that is semiotics of that art. Content is the context or the meaning with which the art wants to portray, or the message it wants to convey. Now, what an artist does is he mixes the principle of design and all these principle of design and composes a piece of art. Now, what I'll do is I'll show how this design theory works. I spoke about cave paintings. These are the cave paintings which are in Bhimbetka, Bhopal, and it was discovered by Dr. Sridhar Vakankar. These are 10,000-year-old paintings. From the paintings you can understand, see, they have drawn the animals. The third painting shows the warfare. They are fighting using arrows and spears, deers. They are hunting, in fact. They are hunting. See the color combination also. At that time also, they could use the color scheme. They knew on dark background, they have to use a lighter shade. And on a lighter thing, they use the dark color. We'll talk about, after the cave paintings, I will say which folk culture came into existence, and then slowly the tribals. We have in each part of India, we have tribal art. Today we'll be talking about tribal paintings or the murals. By murals, I mean to say is the paintings which are done on wall. This is a painting, I'm sure you all must be knowing this. This is a Warli painting which is done by the Warli tribe. The Warli tribes, they paint on their walls. The walls form the canvas, and the rice powder, the pounded rice powder, makes the paint. What is drawn here? You can see the trees, the flora, fauna of their surroundings, their region. They have drawn that. There are various activities also which one can see. The style of housing, it is there. And in the center, you can see the dance. That is called the Tarpa dance. Usually, the tribal dance is done in a circle. It is believed that they dance with the rhythm of the earth, with the movement of the rhythm of the earth. Hence, most of the dances, tribal dances, are done in circular motion. The man in center is blowing an instrument which is known as tarpa, and when he blows the tarpa, all the young boys and girls, it is played so loud that young girls and boys, even men and women who can dance, they come running and then they start dancing throughout the night. So this is a Warli painting of Tarpa dance. Next is the Saura painting and the Patta Chitra. The Saura painting is again done on the walls. These two paintings are the tribal paintings of Odisha, and the Patta Chitra was drawn on Pattu, that is canvas. Now they have started drawing it on palm leaf, and on tussar silk also. These are the Kalamkari painting. This is the Kalamkari painting of Andhra Pradesh. Is this painting able to communicate something to you? Yes. We can see a bride, a dolly is there. Two people are carrying the dolly with a bride sitting inside. Where is the bride going? To a husband's place. So we can say the bride, and usually these dolis, in the dolis, the royal family brides used to go. So maybe a royal bride is leaving her parents' place. The second painting is a Pithora painting from Gujarat, a very colorful painting. It is done by the uh, Pithora tribe, and Pithora was a Baba, Pithora Baba, and it usually contains 7 horses in it. It is again done on wall at the time of marriage. Now, this is a coward. Many of you might have seen this coward. This is from Rajasthan. It is again a storytelling device in which wooden boxes there, and you can close it and open it. When you open it, you can see the full story in it. Through pictures, a story is being told. So this is called a visual art, where the story, the color, the canvas, the theme, the material used, everything forms the language of the art, and it is communicating. We are able to understand what it is, what the coward is telling about. Now, this cartoon, even the cartoons communicate. This is of, you all must be familiar, your own Mario Miranda from Goa, a famous painter and a cartoonist. This is a scene from local train of Mumbai, how it is crowded and how people struggle to get in or even to stand in a train. It's a very uh, satirical cartoon. This again is a very familiar scene to all of you, a fish market drawn by Mario only. See, it's a cartoon, but how much and what all it is communicating? There's one, there are some who are sitting idly. Maybe they have not been able to sell their fish. Others are arguing, someone is selling. People have come, someone has come alone. The crowd you can make out, people have come with their wife or with their children also. There are so many things which the cartoon is portraying. So a cartoon also communicates. Now comes the photojournalism. In photojournalism, you just with the help of a photo, a story is told. 100 stories are told based on a photograph. The first photograph, what does it communicate? That it hasn't rained in that area for many years, or and the children they are seeing water in oasis, and they are just running to have a dip in the water. Their happiness. That means even the photojournalism is a powerful medium of visual communication. The second photograph is a very, very famous picture which occurred in all the social media when Uttarakhand floods washed away houses and people. That time our army formed a human bridge and rescued people. See the picture. Is it not communicating? Do we need words for this to tell what it is? Anyone, even if you don't know a language, you can understand. This is the power of intersemiotic translation. We saw the paintings, the photojournalism. Now we come to the architecture. You see, in Goa, you have a mixed combination of old architecture and new architecture. The old ones have more influence of Portuguese. The Portugal influence is more, and this house represents that. The Portugal influence can be seen in the windows, the structure, the design, everywhere. This too, again, is of Goa, Kala Akademi, and this is a famous church. When you see any monument or an, from an architectural point of view, the material used, for example, Taj Mahal, marble was used. What was the design? The minars, the carvings, etc. The color, the setting, that all those things communicate. In the same way, these two monuments also communicate. Now, this is just a house, but can you tell from which place it belongs? This belongs to Uttarakhand. Such houses are made in hilly areas. They are earthquake resistant, and this is a 900-year-old house called Kuti Banal. There, instead of convenience, they see the sustainability. It should solve the purpose, not the convenience. This again is a mud house. Where is it from? Rajasthan. Because it is made of mud. Why? Because of the climatic condition. It is it goes up to 50 degree, 48 degree, 49 degrees. The mud wall keeps the houses uh, cool. It also depends upon the material which is available in that area. Hence, the type of architecture of a particular place depends upon the materials available in that area. Now, the dancing girl. This dancing girl is a very famous sculptor from Mohenjo-daro. And as we all know, we have not yet been able to decipher the coins, etc. But this image or this statue can convey, tells us that the girl is dancing. Is it not? Next is the temple carvings. In India, we have, in old temples, we have so many carvings of our god and goddesses that it is really amazing that at that time when there was no facility of transportation, of cutting the stone, etc., there was no modern facilities, we have such amazing sculptures. Not only in temples, we have at many places. And it is not stopping just now. They are discovering various old sculptures whenever anthropological departments are digging. Now, now I have shown you few of the things like communication and how it relates to translation. Communication, as I told you, we do communicate on daily basis and we use speech. But as far as inter-semiotic translation is concerned, the text takes another art form. It is usually art form. And as I showed you in examples also, it is more powerful. Even if words are not there in this art form, you are able to understand it. It is said in the visual arts, especially in the paintings and all, the tribal paintings, they are not literate, they don't know language as such, but because they are not able to write, or due as they live in forest or in the remote areas, they don't know how to communicate with the outer world. So how do they record? Through these paintings which they draw on the walls. In each part of India, you will see such paintings. I just showed you few of them. There are in MP also, Madhya Pradesh also, which is done by the Meena tribe. In Andhra Pradesh, the Tanjavur, the Kalamkari painting. Then in Tamil Nadu, Tanjavur paintings, which has a gold usage of gold. Then in Bihar, the Madhubani paintings done by the Mithila people. So we have a lot of tribal paintings. In the same way, dance also. You see, each part of India has a dance form to its name. The same way, music also. In dance, what happens is, if you apply this, the design theory and the principles of art, in dance, what happens is the movements, the mudras, the, the dress, the get up, the, uh, the style, they all become the language of the dance. In any visual art, for example, if we see a piece of uh, what do you call it, abstract art, for example, in abstract art, if you see, we are not able to understand the combination of the colors. Why so? Because we don't have that understanding of that particular field. To understand an abstract art, we need to understand what exactly is abstract art. How do all these elements come together to make that art? For example, in a Varli painting, we have to understand it. We have to take pains to understand, oh, this motif stands for this. Oh, okay, this leaves is of that tree, which is shown in the painting. But for a Varli tribe, for that particular tribe, he doesn't have to think about it. It is there. The art is there in the collective, what you call it, consciousness. They don't have to think or to read or to ask anyone. It is there, they understand it. And that is how, when they start drawing, it comes naturally to them. Whereas it is not that we can't draw the paintings, but we have to literally make efforts to draw that. We have to learn what all ingredients they use, what is the canvas they use, what needs to be portrayed. But for them, if they start from a dot, they will just finish it. It comes naturally. Now, in drawings, I would like to tell you, all these tribals or even any drawing. These tribals, they use the basic geometrical figures, the circle, the square, the rectangle, which is used in architecture also, if you see. In any art form, this is used. What and each sign denotes something. A square. What does a square mean? It may appear just a square to us, but who has studied architecture or one who knows something about architecture, he understands the importance of a square. Why do our Indian old houses have courtyard in between? Why? What is the importance of planting the tulsi sapling outside our door? It has a meaning. Why do uh, um, houses of hilly areas have sloping roofs? It has a meaning. It has a significance. So it can be said each art has each symbol, each sign, each motive has some significance in relation to that particular art. Now, if we see a piece of art, what happens is the artist has created an art. Now, if I look at it as I told you earlier, my I will perceive it in a different manner. So it has become a spiral thing. It has come from the creator to the art into the audience, from the artist to the art and to the audience. Now, how I have understood, I will again represent it in a very different form, the way I have understood. Again, for example, if you watch a movie, if 5 friends go and watch a movie, each one will have a different thing to tell. Someone will like, the hero was very smart. Someone will say, no, the heroine was, her dress was so nice. Some they may not have paid attention to the hero and heroine. Someone will say, "Arey, photography was so good, very nice, wonderful photography." Someone will say, "Oh, I like the songs very much." Some will say, "The lyrics, oh my God, the lyrics were so nice." So we see each one will understand the same thing in a very different manner. It depends upon you, the perceiver, what he wants to understand and his level. And as per his level, he understands. Like a person may be weak or strong, he may be expressive, he may not be, he may be um, very communicative, he may not be, he may be. In the same way, when one perceives a piece of art, he may be able to tell about that art or may not be able to. But if he is able to tell, if he is able to express his feelings the way he has perceived or interpreted, that means the art has been successful. We saw that man, before he stumbled upon actually writing words, he had started dancing and singing. So, can we say that art came much before the words, the actual speech? Yes, and that is why we understand any art or any non-verbal communication faster. Any piece of art we are able to understand. I showed you through photographs. And now the question is, at that time, how did man learn to sing and dance? He took inspiration from nature. Who was his inspiration? The nature. He heard birds chirping. He tried to copy it. He tried to copy it and then give it a different, means tried it and something else came. A different tone came. Maybe then he started singing, taking the inspiration of the birds, the flowing water, the sound of the flowing water, then some of the animals. Dancing, we have seen when animals are happy, how do they express their happiness? He might have mm, he might have seen their actions and tried to copy it. And then with his intelligence, he might have added to it. Now, we saw from cave paintings to emojis how the evolution of man and how communication progressed. We initially in cave paintings also there was no use of words, and now in the modern era where we are using emojis, there also we are not using words, we are using maximum of these emojis. So can we say that a full circle has been completed? We started with non-verbal, that time communicating, and now we have come back to it. Yes, in a way, yes. Maybe in few years, but there is one um, drawback which has happened is with this, the social interaction has reduced to minimal. I would request the younger generation to talk, use these emojis, use these gadgets, but a facial expression is far more far reaching and it conveys more than these emojis. Yes, I agree, they have filled up the gap, but still, interaction is very important. Do interact and do try to see what is non-verbal communication around you. The non-verbal communication is much, much stronger. Now, I'm sure when you see anything, any monument, any piece of art, you will try to interpret it, what it is trying to communicate. With all this, the we can conclude that art has communication potential which never gets exhausted because it for each one it is different and uh, it gets manipulated and multiple interpretations happen, and every time it opens up to something new. Then the mean then time is artless. Sorry, time, yes, time, art is timeless, sorry. It is not restricted to a particular time. Anything which is prehistoric, we have seen, we can understand now. It is able to communicate. It is not where ordinary communication doesn't happen. Here, a special type of communication happens that is called the aesthetic communication. And it depends upon the beauty of the art and how much sensitive you are towards art and how much you are able to understand it. The assumptions which we can make is art is a language. It's not that only words make a language. Even non-verbal communication, it has language. It can function as means of communication. Any art can function as means of communication, and translation of thoughts is possible through non-verbal means. I hope you enjoyed, and if there are any questions, you may go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think it was indeed a very interesting lecture. आणि मॅडम तुम्ही शेवटच्या मुद्द्यामध्ये जे काही सांगितलं ॲक्च्युली त्याच्यावरच आम्हाला एक प्रश्न आला होता की द यूज ऑफ इमोजीज आर वी गोइंग बॅक टू द प्रिमिटिव्ह एज. पण तुम्ही ऑलरेडी त्याचं उत्तर आम्हाला दिलेलं आहे मला वाटतं अँड वी आर व्हेरी हॅपी विथ इट. आणि मॅडम अजून एक प्रश्न होता की तुम्ही सांगितलं की इन इंटरसेमियोटिक ट्रान्सलेशन टेक्स्ट टेक्स द फॉर्म ऑफ एन आर्ट, म्हणजे जसं एखाद्या पुस्तकावरून चित्रपट बनवला जातो. तर अशा वेळेला म्हणजे जेव्हा वेन अ मूवी इज बेस्ड ऑन अ बुक अँड द डिरेक्टर तो आपलं स्वातंत्र्य घेतो काहीतरी त्या पुस्तकामध्ये जे काही लिहिलेलं आहे त्याच्यापेक्षा काहीतरी वेगळं दाखवण्याचं किंवा त्यात काही बदल करण्याचं. सो आणि आपण नेहमी ट्रान्सलेशनमध्ये आम्ही हे शिकलोय की वॉट एव्हर इज प्रेझेंटेड इन द सोर्स लँग्वेज त्यातली भावना किंवा त्यात जे काही सांगायचं आहे तोच मिनिंग आपण टार्गेट लँग्वेजमध्ये घेतला पाहिजे.
Yes,
सो हाऊ फार इज इट ट्रू इन केस ऑफ इंटरसेमियोटिक ट्रान्सलेशन?
that is the challenge, that is the challenge. बघा त्याच्यामध्ये तर असं असतं की तुम्ही जो म्हणजे जसं तू म्हणाली, मी तू म्हणेन
शुअर शुअर.
त्याच्यात काय असतं सिनेमामध्ये जेव्हा तो म्हणजे एक टेक्स्ट तुम्ही कन्वर्ट करता त्या डिरेक्टरला हे तर असतं म्हणजे त्याला फ्रीडम तर असते एक्सप्रेशनची, पण नुसतं त्याला ते थीम तो काय करतो की थीम हीच ठेवायचा प्रयत्न करतो. पण पुष्कळशा अशा गोष्टी असतात की ज्याच्याबरोबर त्याला ही हॅज टू बी he has to justify and he has to be नॉन पार्शल. म्हणजे त्याला थीम पण ती ठेवावी लागते आणि ते थीम ठेवून त्याला म्हणजे त्याचं गाणी पण त्या हिशोबाने तो करतो. त्याच्यानंतर ते हिरो हिरोईन पण तो तशी चूज करतो. मग त्याच्यानंतर सिनेमॅटोग्राफी पण तो त्याचा लक्षात घेऊन करतो. तर असं नाहीये की तो नुसतं त्या टेक्स्टवर त्याला तर अजून चॅलेंजेस असतात. म्हणूनच काही वेळेस असं होतं की कुठलीही एखादी मूवी त्याचं हे फार छान असतं, गाणी फार छान असतात, पण मूवी फ्लॉप होऊन जाते. सो द अदर reasons play a role when a book gets translated in a movie.
Barabar. Exactly. Yes, so we got to know another dimension of translation today. And there is one more question, ma'am. As you have said that Mohenjo-daro period image of dancing girl depicts that the girl was dancing. So does that dancing image convey any message or does it interpret anything of that particular period?
Now that will again depend, as I said, to the person who is seeing the dancing girl. For me, it may that during that time dance existed. Girls used to dance.
Okay.
For some, it may she must have just taken a pose, or she might be just standing in that standing with a hand on her waist. So it depends. See, for me, yes, the dance existed that time. Some may counter. They say no, dance was not there. Girls were not allowed to come out. Then again, it depends on individual who is seeing that piece of art. That's what I said.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your interesting lecture, and I hope everybody enjoyed it really. And we got to know another many things about intersemiotic translation. And ma'am, I request you now for your final comments before we conclude today's session.
I hope you all enjoyed the lecture. And as you said, it's a very different type of translation, intersemiotic. And I thank the Directorate of Languages who gave me this chance. to present my views on this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure to listen to you. And before we conclude today's session, I request our head clerk, Nifa Silvera, to present the vote of thanks.
Good day to all. Today we complete 5th day of the webinar on lecture series on translation scheme. No event can be successful without people who dedicate their resources and time for the well-being of the society. Directorate of Official Language would like to sincerely thank Dr. Sunetra Sholapurkar, Junior Resource Person of National Translation Mission CIIL Mysuru, for delivering her vast knowledge in the field of Inter-semiotic translation, which will guide the budding translator to expand their knowledge in the field of translation. I would like to thank Honorable Chief Minister, Minister for Official Language, and Secretary of Official Language, Government of Goa. Directorate of Official Language is very much thankful to National Translation Mission, all the academic faculty and staff of National Translation Mission CIIL Mysuru. So also is grateful to the Director of Official Language, Assistant Director, Senior Translator, Technical and Administrative staff of Official Language. We are very much thankful for the live streaming host, Palash Agni Studios, and also print and electronic media, the government employees, the teachers, the translators, students, and all the language lovers for participating in this lecture series. Thank you very much.
थँक यू सो मच मॅम. आपलं पुढचं लेक्चर गुरुवार 2 सप्टेंबर रोजी होणार आहे. मिस्टर विश्वदीप गोगोई, ज्युनियर रिसोर्स पर्सन NTM-CIIL मैसूर यांचं आणि आपलं पुढचं लेक्चर असेल गुरुवार 2 सप्टेंबर रोजी मिस्टर विश्वदीप गोगोई यांचं. त्यांचा विषय आहे ट्रान्सलेटिंग कल्चर इन द आर्ट ऑफ चूजिंग. थँक यू सो मच.